I wanted to show you some tips on what to look for in cast iron. There are sometimes when you go out to antique stores or maybe the flea market or maybe yard sales or estate sales, you'll find cast iron, and you always wonder in the back of your head, is this a good investment? And when I'm there, I'm always going through the magnet test, the flashlight test, the pinging test, all these tests to see if this cast iron is really worth the investment. I always get tickled when I see cast iron at flea markets that say really rare corn stick pan, and it's a Lodge maybe 1940s cast iron piece, and Lodge still makes corn stick pans. So you have to be really careful about what you're going to invest in. And before I actually get started into cast iron, I had no idea what I was getting into. And I made some really dumb choices, and through those dumb choices, I just started making better choices. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. So I had to learn the hard way about what kind of cast iron I wanted to look for, and how to tell if it was really a good piece. This piece was a poor decision that I made because I really wanted to buy cast iron. But I should have invested in a little bit more time before buying it, because it's not worth $20. And it's a Lodge. It's a good piece. It's a vintage piece. The reason why it's not a good piece, because cast irons are not meant to be lazy Susans. And what do you mean by that? Cast irons don't do that. They are supposed to sit flat. They should not spin like that. And the reason why these are not good users is because when you have a stove like this and I'm trying to cook, it's wobbly and it can easily just spin out of the control. And in my case, I have kids, and it would really devastate me if they hit this and it fell onto the floor, and all that hot scalding oil that you have in there can burn them easily. So I use this to render hog fat in the oven, or just to make sausage balls. But I have to be really careful because it's warped, and you can see where it's popped out. Oil has a tendency to burn in the center, and your food also burns in the center. It doesn't cook equally at all. And the reason why they get like this is because they got too hot and they popped out. We take for granted, or you always hear that cast iron, you can't break it. You can break cast iron. You can damage cast iron easily. Everything has a breaking point, and that goes for cast iron too. Second one is this one. I didn't buy this one. I actually was given this one by someone in my family. I think it was actually my mom. She thought that I could use it, but it's out. As you can tell, it's warped. It doesn't sit straight, or flat, not straight. And it also has discoloring right here, and that's not rust at all. But I told her that I would actually take this piece because it's a good teaching piece when I do blogs and when I talk about it on Facebook. And the reason why this piece is the way it is because of fire tossing. Fire tossing is not a good idea. Of course, they did it back then in the generations and generations ago, but that's how they cleaned cast iron back in the day. Now we have a better understanding about what cast iron does when it gets too hot, and also we have more advanced ways in cleaning cast iron with lye tanks, electrolysis, and using Easy Off oven cleaner. All these good ways of cleaning cast iron is really a safer approach than tossing it into a fire. And another bad thing about this is that when the cast iron gets too hot, it burns. It actually causes burn markings on the cast iron, and that's what we call in the cast iron community a hot pan. A hot pan is usually a reference to a fire toss pan, and when cast iron gets too hot, you can see those rosy marks on the cast iron, and that means that the surface has been compromised. And it's really sad because seasoning has a harder time sticking to a surface that has been compromised. And this piece right here is not a good piece to use at all. So I refer to this as house art. That's all it can be used for. And this other piece is a piece that is also a no good piece. It actually has a really unique style. I love the handle. You don't see that anymore, especially like this pan. If I can get these two. And this one is actually was actually made before the 1900s, and I can show you why. It has a scar mark, and we call that a gate mark. And gate marks are older pieces that were made before the 1900s. We have no definite way of telling when the cast iron was made. We just know that when we see that it was definitely made before the 1900s. And you were asking, why does it have that? And that's basically back in the day when they did the moldings by hand, and it left this piece when they took it took it out of its molding, and it's actually treasured pieces for some collectors. And to get back on track, the reason why this is not a good piece is because you see some of the rosy tint to it. Also, there is a lot of fractures, little cracks in the cast iron. And if you can see where it seems to be taking a different direction, and you see this kind of copper color to it, that's because it's been welded. And I don't like using those because I don't want to take the risk of it possibly cracking more. It's really not worth the risk in my book to use pieces like this. So what do I do with this piece? I actually use it as a sacrificial metal to test my electrolysis tank when I feel like there's something that's not really going right. So I'll put that in and I'll test everything out, and when I get all the kinks worked out, I'll take it out and I'll actually put in the piece of cast iron that I want to use in my electrolysis tank. And if you're asking what is an electrolysis tank, the best place to go to on Facebook that will help you to get a better understanding is the electrolysis. I forgot the full name. It's an electrolysis tank builders on Facebook. I think that's it. But they do such a great job in giving out the full description, and they have little pieces of do-it-yourself videos, and they also have instructions and files in Facebook to help you to get a better understanding about the electrolysis method in cleaning cast iron. Like I shared before, these are just helpful tips to get you to understand there are types of cast iron that you really need to stay away from when you go to antique stores or estate sales, yard sales, etc. And you really want to get your money's worth. And pieces that I really like to use are these skillets. And I'm actually working on this skillet right now. It is a very old piece. It is gate marked, and we refer to it as a Southern Mystery piece. It's very light in weight. It has the glass smooth surface. It does have a little bit of hot spots from where it looks like it may have been where it's gotten a little bit too hot, but the surface is in really great condition. But this is usually a really good indication of Southern Mystery skillets. They have such a beautiful design with the handle, and it's the heat ring right here is another one of those strong components of a Southern Mystery skillet. And Southern Mystery skillets are actually skillets that that don't have a proper identification, but they're strongly found in the South, and they are very unique. So these are just like my go-to piece. So if you have any questions about cast iron, feel free to ask me a question on Facebook. You can message me there.